Huh. I got.
Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Michael.
Oh, you got me. Animating in threes.
We're animating in threes, and we are a podcast to analyze and discuss animated films and series. And this week we are doing The Lion King, not the new one because that hasn't come out yet.
But we'll probably talk about the new one in relation to this one.
When did we talk about the new one? Did we ever release that one?
What do you mean?
We had like a really long rant about the remake.
Oh, that was in one of our animation news segments, very early
Yeah,
on.
not even we remember what we do.
But before we get to that, we'll be talking about Toons. We've tuned into
Toons with this.
So, Michael, what have you been watching this week?
Not only did I not watch any cartoons, I didn't even watch the thing we were meant to watch. I just dug up my notes from the first pilot podcast that we didn't even release. I'm gonna try to remember a film that I watched on VHS
3.5 months ago.
3.5 months ago.
Ah, perfect.
Stefan, what have you been watching?
Well, nothing much new in terms of TV series. I've just been watching the same old things I've been talking about.
Good,
But-
moving on.
Let's guess what he's been watching. He's been watching Miraculous Ladybug.
Yeah.
The one about the thing that reminds me of Generator Rex.
Yeah.
The French one.
No, that's
That is
Miraculous Ladybug. You finished Hilda,
Yeah.
and you've also been watching Amphibia.
Yeah.
Is that all? No, Teen Titans.
Yeah, Teen Titans
Go.
goes there.
Yeah, there we
I'm
go.
pretty sure you got it all.
Yay!
But I started playing Cuphead, and I know that
Oh, okay. That's one video game where I think that's fine. We can talk about that one.
yes, because if you don't know Cuphead, it's designed to look like a 1930s cartoon, and it's so great. Like, I cannot express how brilliant the animation is. It looks like you're playing one of those scary yet somehow charming old cartoons from the 1930s.
Yeah,
and
they
it's
really
just-
capture that underlying theme of,
racism and
racism and
abuse.
horror.
Like, some of the character designs are horrifying. They look scary, but for some reason it's done in a softer way that it still looks a lot more
I
charming
think
than
because
things.
it's from this era, it's more overtly tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit more self-aware, and I think that adds to, how much you can accept the creepiness.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But even it's the game focuses on boss fights, and every boss has a little intro animation. Those little animation segments are just beautiful. Like, they come up with little creative ways of how each character can show what they are and how they're now evil, so to speak. And it's just really interesting. And I love all the set pieces. The colors are great. It's got like one of those grainy effects all through it, so it looks like a grainy video. What I'm amazed they didn't do is I'm amazed they didn't change the ratio so it's like a square ratio.
yeah.
Is there an option to do that?
No.
You know what you can do? You can just get bits of black card and paste it to the side of your laptop.
That's efficient.
Therefore, removing all the points of vital information in the HUD. It's a bizarre notion to go through that much effort to create this completely comprehensive art visual aesthetic experience, and then use it on like the impenetrable bullet hell genre.
Yeah, like
Right?
it's not something that's
That's-
easily
That's
accessible.
bizarre. Like they took an art style which I think most people would be absolutely like delighted and like really intrigued to play. They developed one of the least accessible video games I've played in a while.
Anyhow, Ben, what have you been watching animated wise?
So Amphibia, my Amphibia watch, I'm up to date. It's really good. They're doing more plot stuff than I thought they would be.
Oh, way more than I thought there would be.
Yeah, and it's really charming, and again, just watch it, even though it's not available in Australia.
Yeah, that's kind of hard. Do you know something I've noticed with the latest episodes of Amphibia?
Sprig is amazing.
Sprig's
His
amazing.
animation.
His animation is incredible, and how he does noodle arms and his mouth deforms into
I love
off-model things.
all the there's so much off-model animation in this, and like especially with the mouths opening up and their tongues just wibbling about. It's just every time that happens, it always elicits a laugh from me.
It definitely looks like a thing that they've allowed the animators to have fun with, which I really like.
I've also been watching the Clone Wars. I'm up to season 3 now. My God, it's so much better from season 3. Like the first story, the 2 episodes are a little arc, which relate to an episode from the first season. It's about these clones. It's a flashback to when they were training. And then it flashes forward in the next episode to them defending their home of Camino.
That seems pretty good structurally wise.
And it features one of my favorite clone troopers, Fives. And yes, they have different personalities, unlike stormtroopers, apart from Finn.
Well, that's actually...
Or the one that hits his head on the door.
Yeah.
No, the one who hits his head in the toy.
You can extrapolate so much personality from that one little moment.
But yeah, it's really good. And the atmosphere in the 3D is a lot better now as well. And the color is a lot more cohesive now as well. And it's just going to ramp up from here.
Is season 3 the one where they're on the desert planet?
That's every Star Wars thing
No,
ever.
no. I mean, like, there's this very specific one where they're on a desert planet doing, like, a war thing. Okay, that is...
That's
like,
that's every book, television series, film, and piece of fan
It's
fiction.
literally like half the planets in Star Wars is
Okay,
desert
I
planets.
think it was fog. It was like a foggy desert.
Are you talking
war
about my
thing.
favorite arc?
Yeah, I think it is that one.
Is there a weird?
The one that isn't desert and it's just nighttime and there's fluorescent lighting everywhere?
Yeah, that sounds like...
Is there a weird, overcomplicated lore explanation as to why every planet into the Star Wars universe is just one type of terrain?
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
I also finished Steven Universe because I stopped watching it 1.5 years ago.
What about the fat kid in the red shirt?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
How many seasons are there?
there's 5. I thought there was a 6th one coming out for some reason, but there wasn't, so I was really surprised when it ended. But no, it's really good, and I'm looking forward to the finale of the movie, which is coming out next year, I believe.
How did without spoilers, of course, but how did the series end? Did it end on a finale sort of note?
It ended on a music number,
Of course it ended on a music number.
and it ended happily, and it ended with Steven's greatest power, which isn't forming a shield out of nothing
It's
or a
friendship?
bubble. Compassion, really. But yeah, friendship.
Of course. So Steven Universe is apparently an anime. Great.
Hooray!
No, but is the season going to... You've said before that it follows up a few years or a bit after...
The movie.
Yeah, the movie follows a bit after the series.
That's all I know about it.
Oh, is there a movie?
Was it just announced recently, or?
It was announced, I think, last year.
Oh, okay. So it's been
Yeah,
a while.
Comic-Con
in
last
production.
year. It was
Okay.
announced.
Did he lose weight?
I think he just grew taller and they kept the thickness.
And he
Oh,
grew a
okay.
neck.
Yeah, he has a neck now.
So now the memes can stop and become something even worse.
Okay, enough about this. So, The Lion King 1994. It's a film. Look, this is going to be full of spoilers, first of all. And first
Everyone in the world has seen The Lion King.
I know, but just on the very off chance that someone's listening to it going, I can't be bothered watching a 1.5 hour film, so let's listen to a 1.5 hour podcast about The Lion King.
I don't think you'll spoil anybody. We have 2 degrees of protection, which is 1, everyone's seen The Lion King, and 2, nobody will listen to this.
Anyway, we'll be talking about how it was made, and then we'll be analysing it. And then we'll see what happens from there. Okay, so this movie, let me scroll through my notes because this is not well done. Oh my god.
Again, these notes are from the original Lost Pilot episode, so Ben's having to dig through 3 months ago stuff to try and find the info.
Back when I didn't do my notes back when we had a different structure for the podcast as well.
Yeah.
And then it took 1.5 hours to get halfway through the podcast.
Yeah, we should be a bit better by now.
And if we aren't, well, that's not a surprise. The directors were Roger Allers and Rob Minkoff from Disney, obviously. And the inspirations of the film, well, obviously there's Hamlet, but that's not the only one. There is the biblical story of Moses, where he receives a message from a burning bush, which is similar to...
The cloud
To
in the
my far
sky.
Yeah,
side.
so
Yeah.
like divine intervention.
Exactly,
Ah.
and he comes back unrecognized
It's not
by
an
his family.
intervention. It's more of a... Oi. Go kill your uncle.
Other inspirations are Uses of Enchantment, Hero of 100 Faces / The Hero's Journey, and Bambi in Africa.
Bambi in Africa! Is that seriously what it was
So
called?
one of the co-writer Irene Machi described it as Bambi in Africa with Hamlet thrown in.
What happens in Bambi? I literally only know up to the point where everything's fine and then someone shoots the mum.
And then he grows up, and then there's a fire, and then he's safe.
Oh, does he kill
That's
the hunter
it.
at the end?
No.
I love that part in The Lion King where Simba went, "Dad, where are you?" And then Scar went, "Your dad cannot be with you, Simba."
I threw him
That was
off.
my favourite part.
I punted him off a cliff.
The directors confirmed that no one initially wanted to work on The Lion King because this was the B movie, because they were also working on another Disney princess film called Pocahontas.
Yeah, Disney. This was the time when Disney was really banking on Pocahontas being their big seller, and they kind
Exactly.
of just threw their other animators onto the Lion King. But then when they saw that the Lion King was getting really great music and really great visuals, they thought, okay, these visuals really need to start having some flair to them, and that's where they started throwing more money at it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so they literally had to beg people to join the Lion King team instead of working on Pocahontas.
Could you even imagine that nowadays? Like, I doubt people for this remake needed to be begged to work on a Lion King remake. They'd be like, I get to work on the Lion King, one of the greatest stories ever. Count me in.
Do people like Pocahontas, or is it regarded as like a misfire?
I think people like it.
It's alright.
Because I haven't seen it in like years. I wouldn't even remember.
Well, you didn't watch The Lion King
I
until
probably haven't
for
seen it
years.
since the year that starts with a 1.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a film that no one cared about, really. And here's some quotes from people who worked on it. The dumbest story I've ever heard in my life. And is anyone ever going to want to see this?
I mean, it's Hamlet.
Yeah, but
At the
people,
time, they
yeah,
didn't
people didn't know that.
They didn't actually think it was Hamlet. It wasn't until later that the screenwriters started piecing together, oh, this is kind of like Hamlet. And so they started changing some things to make Scar look more like a theatrical, like
Oh yeah, Jeremy
Elizabethan
Irons. It
character.
feels like quite like that kind of thespian kind of Shakespearean.
Can we have a whole segment dedicated to how Jeremy Irons is the greatest?
Yes.
Well, we
so
will
good
talk
in this
about
scene.
it. We
This is
will
our new segment called Jeremy Irons is the greatest. So, Stefan, what do you think about the greatest actor of all time, Jeremy Irons?
I thought he was great.
I loved him in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice when he says those 3 lines.
Oh, that's my favourite film. Batman vs Superman. I want to die.
Obviously, while this film was made, it was a very collaborative process, which is much more prominent than other Hollywood films at the time. Usually, you think about, like, a lot of people say that a lot of films are really great with one unique vision, but when you have a collaborative process with artists rather than, like, people who just worry about money and studio execs and stuff, something really great can come from that, like The Lion King.
Yeah, and we talked about a similar thing when we were talking about the Yellow Submarine a few weeks ago. When you have a bunch of artists putting different ideas into one project, it can make it seem a bit disorientated, but I think Lion King does it in a way where it just makes it seem more unique. Like, there's some scenes you can definitely tell are different from the rest of the film, but it just makes it seem a lot more vivid and a lot brighter and fun.
Yeah, definitely. In 1991, Disney artists went to East Africa for research for 2.5 weeks. And the research team was absolutely swept away by how beautiful it was in East Africa.
3 of them came back.
Some of them were literally swept away as they were lost in a river and eaten by lions.
Oh no! I don't have anything to respond to that. So Robin Aquino, he did a lot of animal studies while he was there, and basically all the animation that you see is based off his research.
So, Robin, what's an elephant like? It's kind of like an elephant.
Oh, sorry, Ruben, my bad.
Oh, Ruben.
Reuben.
For the art direction, they had Andy Gaskell. I don't know what else he's done, but there's a name for you.
That is a name.
Thanks, Ben. What an informative podcast we have.
Originally, the style was going to be more reflective of African art and fabrics, but when they started doing the backgrounds, they were like,
But
oh,
why-
you know what? Let's actually make it more realistic and like kind of like a National Geographic film.
Oh, so it's going to be like textured almost.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
you get a bit of that in that.
Yeah,
yeah,
in-
we will talk about
Okay.
that, but it was going to be very stylized compared to what it is now.
Okay, I quite like how it is now because it still is stylized.
Yeah.
In terms of like color palette denoting mood and things like that.
And the general aesthetic in the end turned out to be influenced by Western epics and biblical epics,
Yeah, it
which
feels-
is definitely.
Well, it's what makes it seem so grand.
Oh yeah. There's a grandiosity to it, of course. Yeah.
They also wanted to capture the mystical atmosphere of Africa, and they wanted the colors to seem a lot more intense as well.
You know, mystical is a term I haven't actually heard in description to The Lion King, but it
I mean,
is.
the-
It really is.
I mean, the
mysticky.
monkey is like a kind of a shamanish kind of mystic character.
Kind of. I never really
It's like
thought of him
he's
as
like a
that.
witch doctor almost. Like he concocts like little elixirs and.
I picture him as just being a person who followed like scriptures. Like that's why he knows like about prophecies and whatnot.
Yeah, but like that in and of itself there's a spiritual theme that kind of punctuates that character.
Okay, I get what you mean.
Yeah, you know how he smells the air and goes, "Oh, he's not dead."
A little bit about the animation. The villain animator was Andreas Deja, and he did the animation for Gaston and Jafar previously. And they
Who
managed,
also walk on 4 legs.
like, when you imagine the best Disney villains, those 3, I reckon would come to mind. Scar,
Not
Gaston and
Gaston, but Jafar definitely. Jafar and Scar actually look very similar in terms of like their color palettes and surprisingly how their eyebrows emote.
I just like how comically evil Gaston is.
Yeah.
Not evil, but just like such a bastard. Just like, I want to kill and have sex with everything. And that's his whole character.
Yeah, so it totally makes sense with that. And he focused on the feline qualities of the cat and applied that to Scar. Because Scar is a very manipulative cat, really. And like you really want to get those...
He moves with like a slimy grace.
Exactly, yeah. And that definitely shows through.
He definitely, as we said, he's like a theatrical villain. Like,
Yeah, he
looks-
slinks. And
if he was a human, he'd be one of those people who wear like the shirt with the tie that's kind of loose fitting, just kind of a sleazeball, but looks charming.
No, I imagine him in a very kind of prim and very proper suit.
Really?
Like a slim fit. I don't know what I'm saying.
Anyway,
What are we talking about? What if Scar wore a
Scar.
suit?
Okay.
What is this podcast?
back to Scar. With the design of Scar, they also managed to get a bit of Jeremy Irons in it as well.
They just stuck him in.
Because they did some voice tests and stuff with him, they added some of his like facial elements and stuff into Scar as
In
well.
some frame errors, you can actually see that it just frame errors to his face.
Jeremy, this is going to sound a little weird, but we need you to get on your hands and knees. Don't worry, this is how I got into Hollywood.
So the music. Let's talk about the music. One of the best parts of this film. So Hans Zimmer, he did the score. And this is a quote from him. A musician is trying to get as close to the emotion of a human voice. So I thought, let's cut back and get real singers for this. And they used an African choir for the chorus.
Reginald?
Yeah, that was... They didn't use... He was talking... They got an African choir.
Oh, okay, sorry.
They're not talking about Elton John yet.
Notice Elton John just pops up in his peacock outfit. Why, yes.
Anyway, they got authentic African drums for the... Like, when they recorded the music. And they got Lebo M. I don't know who he is. I am sorry for everyone who does. And
No,
it's
we're
gonna-
really on a roll with, I don't know who this is, moving on.
Anyway, he helped with the score as well and helped with all the African sounds.
It is a wonderful score,
Oh,
especially...
beautiful.
Does Hans Zimmer reflect on the Lion King soundtrack as being any different to the things he's worked on?
I did not research
Well,
into
it's no
it that
Batman
much.
versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. That was Hans Zimmer, right?
Yep. So The Lion King wasn't intended to be a musical at first, and it was instead going to be a lot more National Geographic, which while they stuck with that visually, I'm really glad they introduced Elton John. And yeah, so Tim Rice, I think he was originally brought on, but then he suggested Elton John. And then,
Tim Rice and Elton John were like, they're usually pair and pair. They work together on a lot of things.
yeah, so they ended up working on it together, although Elton John is mostly known for it instead of Tim Rice, I would say.
Yeah, I wouldn't have, yeah.
Tim Rice is Elton John's writer for most of the time.
So Elton John and Tim Rice, they wrote 5 songs over the 2 years. I think they initially wrote more, but then they cut it down to 5. And actually, I think they used some of the cutout songs in the Lion King stage production as well.
That's pretty cool.
I've seen the Lion King stage production,
Yeah, so have
but
I.
I saw it in like 2002.
Oh,
I
okay.
think.
So back when it was, I think that would have been like the first time it was in Australia or something.
Yeah, I had to go to Sydney for it.
Oh, okay.
But no, from what I remember of that musical, it's really good. I recommend it.
Okay.
Just for that aesthetic experience.
The first song that they wrote was "Can You Feel the Love Tonight?"
That makes sense. That was the
And-
first one they play in the credits as well.
And originally, talking a lot about National Geographic stuff, but the Circle of Life song, when they wrote it, they were like, okay, we need to... They originally didn't have a grand sequence like that at the start, but after they wrote the song, they were like, okay, we need to make it very grand and
We need the visuals to reflect it.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes,
yeah, it's-
definitely.
It's like a Shakespearean myth.
Yeah.
You need that kind of, that epic introduction into the world.
And they originally were going to have dialogue talking over the song as well in the start.
Here are some birds. Look at the ants. Big rock!
They took that out because the song is so impactful, which I am glad they did.
The sun is coming up.
What if they got Randy,
It's Randy Newman! Randy Newman's gonna...
Sim.
And the sun is coming up in Africa. The baby. The monkey picked him up on the rock. Hi, Simba.
Why does your Randy Newman sound
Oh,
nothing
no.
like Randy Newman?
Oh no, Buzz lost his arm.
Okay, so just one more fact about The Lion King before we get into it. So one of the first pieces of test animation that they did was where Simba talks to his father in the clouds. Like,
That's a very odd thing to choose as your first test animation.
that's one of the.
To be fair, I think
at
it's
the
one
end
of
of the second act, yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of the more difficult things to really nail how you're gonna make look.
But because
Very simple, written on like a screenplay.
because of how impactful that was for everyone who viewed it, they wanted to make the whole film as good as that one segment. Do you
Wow.
think they succeeded?
Yeah, I think there's a
Oh,
lot. Of,
by all means,
yeah,
I think so.
There's a lot of shots that I think have like an equal level of grandiosity to when he talks to the cloud. Yeah, like I remember immediately after that, like one that comes to mind is when he's just like running back through the desert, and there's that kind of half dissolved shot.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, like that's great. Like yeah, just I think all of it just has it's punctuated by grand moments. Like it's great. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, again, sorry that my notes were so scattered. This is from I didn't bother opening them until literally half an hour ago.
Yeah, this is how much we love you, viewers. Look at the effort we go to.
So let us talk about the movie.
We haven't started yet.
Should we go with opening thoughts?
Yes,
of
we
the movie?
should. What do you guys think? I already know your thoughts, but what do you guys think?
It's great, I think. Yeah, again, we keep mentioning the word grandiosity, and it is. It's big, and it has an epic quality to it, and I think almost just that's worth watching it, just for that cinematic experience alone, just to see how, because there's this misconception that animation isn't good at conveying weight or, emotional or, mythic heft. And I think this really is kind of the poster child for that kind of thing, where it pretty much exemplifies mythic scale in animation. And for that alone, it's an achievement. There are a couple of narrative stumbles and I guess some odd story beat choices or character choices. But I think overall, as just like a complete visceral, musical experience, of course it's a classic. Everybody's seen it. Why are you listening to this?
Stefan.
No, I'm pretty much on the same boat as Michael. For me, it's one of the hallmarks of this is one of the best written animated films, one of the best sound designed animated films, one of the best animated films in terms of animation, and I just think it.
What about one of the best films in general?
It would be if they got Randy Newman for the soundtrack.
If they got Randy Newman, it could have taken it to that next level.
Okay, and I'm pretty much on the same level as you guys too. Let's talk about we're pretty much just going to break this up into song, plot.
So we did South Park, basically.
A quick summary of The Lion King. Simba is born and he wants to be king, and then his father dies because his uncle is a conniving son of a gun. And then Simba, thinking he killed his father.
There's conniving, and then there's punting your dad off a cliff.
Anyway, Simba, because he thinks that he killed his dad,
Goes
he
into
goes into exile. Then he grows up with Timon and Pumbaa.
Carefree life. Meanwhile, everyone in the Rock thing, they're like dying because they're like, oh no,
Because
bad tyrannical ruler makes bad weather.
Oh no, who would have guessed that? Certainly not lions who don't know anything about weather.
Yeah, but that's how it works. So now Simba
then-
decides to go back after getting a cloud meeting with his dad.
Yeah.
And then, Simba decides to go back and defeat his uncle Scar. I don't know why it's called.
He
We'll
brings
get into
balance to the force, the sky clears up, the animals come back to life.
it. I don't know why we're saying the plot. You know it.
You
You've
know
watched
how it goes.
Yeah. Okay, so the opening song is The Circle of Life. And
It's obviously great.
it is, the whole sequence is amazing. It just opens up with that beautiful sunrise with that awesome vocal sound. And
It's
it
a
just
really-
immediately sets the tone for what this film is going to be like. Just grand and epic.
It's also a very unique way of transitioning into your first frame. Like, usually you'd have a hard cut, or you have some sort of cut, but this is
I
not a
love
cut.
it.
It transitions from
Yeah. It
black
Just
into
double,
light.
it just double fly kicks you into the film. It's
Yeah.
great.
But it's a really great way of bringing you into that theatrical nature. And the fact that the rest of the sequence is very, as you've said before, like nature documentary-like,
Yeah.
where the movements are very animal-like and they're very well studied and rotoscoped.
I don't think it would be rotoscoped.
The one,
Or reference.
I think
referenced.
the best. I mean, they're all amazing shots. Like especially one with like the cranes or whatever they are, the birds kind of flying over the lake. But we talked about this before. My favorite shot is the one when it the fade between the zebras and the ants.
You see these ants carrying these leaves on a branch, and they're up close, and you can see something behind them, but they're blurred out. But then it switches.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's focusing on the zebras behind them.
Yeah, it's like they changed the
Lens focus.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. It just looks like it came straight out of a documentary.
And to do that with 2D animation is insane. And that's where I think this scene, although it may be perfectly adapted in the live action one, could never capture the emotion and rawness that this one does. Because this one feels like it's, I don't know, made from the ground up, and it has this slight exaggeration to how it just makes certain things seem more impactful.
Do you think it's the smoothest 2D animated film, released as part of the Disney Renaissance period?
What would you call post 2000? That's not part of it, is it?
No, I'd say like from Little Mermaid to Tarzan. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Tarzan also has some great animation, but because it didn't capture what this film wanted to, I guess you can make
I think
that
of
argument.
Tarzan, and I think of quite kind of cold colours. To me,
Tarzan, I think, are greens and oranges.
Yeah,
exact
yeah.
opposite to
Well,
you.
don't forget though, they're in a different type of environment where
Yeah.
it is
yeah,
where it is more colder.
Yeah.
In general. But yeah, opening sequence is just magnificent, and yeah, ramps up to Rafiki holding up Simba on Pride Rock, and the sun shining on him, which we assume is
Yes.
Mufasa's dad,
yeah. Wait, what?
because the past king shines on.
Oh yeah.
Howard uses Sky as a cyclical storytelling
Keep wanting to say
narrative.
soliloquy.
Yeah, but I can never say it. But how it uses the sky and that rock to tell the story is really great. Like, you can pinpoint the highs and lows of this movie by seeing what the state of this rock and the sky is.
Yeah, definitely.
And whenever that sky, like, shines on whoever's on that rock, oh, this is the dawn of something great.
Yeah.
And when the cloud's up, it's like, oh no, Scar's
This is the dawn of something
Scar
great.
screwed up everything.
This is the dawn of something great. But I'm going to be honest, you're going to have a pretty shitty first couple of years.
Yeah, but then it cuts to just a hard cut to the title, The Lion King. And I
That's
think
great.
it's really
This
effective.
big percussive hit, and then the title just, yeah. I'm a sucker for films that just have like a big hard cut to the title.
It's a Star Wars.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it is
because
great.
nowadays it's kind of lost that because of cinematic, what do you call them, universe building things, and everything needs to be franchisable. They put logos at the end of films now.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
a fan
don't
of that.
like that.
Or like even like logo reveals at the start of films. I think they don't have that kind of luster to them.
Straight after the Lion King title cut, we get Scar and Mufasa having a little chat.
No, he slaps around a mouse first.
Yeah. And I think it just sets up Scar perfectly as this, as you said, as like a slimy, manipulative guy.
Yeah.
Even where they meet, like they're meeting like this shadow of the rock where Scar meets. It looks slimy. It looks like where he'd be doing like, I don't know, illegal leaf deals with people.
Yeah.
Come get this illegal leaf, guys.
He opens up his jacket. He's the rows and rows of leaves.
But I really like the character design of Scar.
I love
Yeah.
Scar's character design in this film
Oh.
is hallmark to how to design a Disney
What are you
film.
talking about? What about the great character design in the remake where you can
mean the-
easily differentiate every character?
The real line and the real line. I love the real line. And
Look, apart from the slightly racist overtones of, he's the only dark lion there and he's the villain.
I think
I don't think that really.
But the thing is, it's brought up in the sequel with segregation and that sort of stuff. Look, anyway, we're not going to be talking about that because we're not qualified.
It's a whole
to talk
nother
about it.
can of fish.
So, apart from that, the character design is great because you can just tell, like, with how his facial movements are, how he keeps himself, how he walks, that he's just bad news.
It's also when you introduce them, you got Mufasa who stands really proud and
With his chest puffed
Yeah.
out.
yeah, whereas Scar's like lying down. He's just like he's more relaxed and careless with his movements.
Yeah, Mufasa's more there's a lot more pride in how he walks.
But again, like even though Scar's a villain and he's very much a villain, he is by far one of the most interesting characters in the film because he looks fantastic. Like, he's one of those villains that you just love to see doing stuff.
Oh, yeah, and then it moves to Simba waking up his dad, and then they have a nice chat on the top of Pride Rock.
Yeah, very confusing moral chat about, like, oh, yeah, we can eat all the animals because we become grass when we die and they eat us,
Talking
apparently.
about the circle
to be
of
fair,
life.
Dad, that sounds like a pretty raw deal for the antelope.
Shut up, son. I make the rules around here.
But it's really well animated. There's this amazing 180-degree panning.
Oh
not
yeah,
pan shot.
their panning mats are amazing.
But not
I don't
even
even-
just
I'm
the
not even
map,
sure if
but
they're-
just
are
it
they
wasn't a
digital?
map. No, it was hand drawn. You can see all the lines
They're
and
so
everything.
clear though, and they're coloured with such smooth gradients that they look digital
Fools
almost.
you, yeah.
Pride Rock and the lines turning around while their heads are moving as well. Really well
Again,
animated.
this is just 2D animation, just a lot of hard yakka work to get all this perfect. There's no shortcuts, there's no 3D perspective, anything helping them with this.
And especially as this was the B team as well. However, during this sequence we were talking about, last night when I was watching it, I noticed an error.
Ooh.
So while they're talking, there was something that just flashed on one single frame.
I don't know how you picked this up.
Whoa! How did you notice that?
I don't know. So basically, there's just single 45 written in one of the frames.
Was it 45?
I'm guessing it was just a timing sheet or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
it's either a timing sheet or indicating the frame number, the storyboard.
How long was it
frame.
into the shot?
It's towards the end of their conversation, I think.
It could have
Okay.
been even indicating what keyframe of the character's animation that was.
After they have their little talk, they go on to attack Zazu for a bit.
Yeah, that's always fun. But
And-
he's voiced by Rowan Atkinson, so
So it's fine.
And
Apparently.
yeah, and
It's most he's ever talked in his career.
and James Earl Jones is really great as Mufasa, I reckon.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
great as Mufasa.
He's so good that they dug up the 260-year-old James Earl Jones for the
new
remake.
one, yeah. And because Simba is just this cocky little kid who was just born a few days ago, he's like,
He's
yeah,
played
I
by
can do...
Matthew Broderick.
I mean, not young Simba.
Oh, that's right.
This little cocky kid talks to his uncle Scar. Also, can we talk about why is he named Scar?
He's got a scar on his face.
Yeah, but was he like that when he was born? Was he called Scar when he was born, and he had a scar on his face then?
Look, I think he started off as Scar, then he got to his emo teens. He was like, oh, I'll
Some-
show them Scar.
Some babies scratch their own face in the womb because their fingernails develop.
Okay.
Yes, maybe
Or
that
maybe
happened.
he was really into ska music, and then he got a scar on his eye, and was like, you know what? I'm going to
I've
change
got to own
the
this.
name.
Maybe his name is just Jeremy. Jeremy Scar
Irons.
the Lion or whatever. I don't know.
Jeremy Lyons.
Jeremy Lyons, perfect.
Anyway. Yeah, and then Scar convinces him to go to the elephant graveyard because little does Simba know, Scar has planned for some hyenas to eat him up as a nice, lovely meal. Simba convinces his friends Nala to come with him, and then we have our second, I believe, musical number, Just Can't Wait to Be King.
And we were talking earlier about the African patterns in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where
So
it
this
all
is where
is.
it all
This is
comes
where the
in.
texture backgrounds, the cartoony characters.
Just the hypersaturation.
Yeah.
And I think it really works well for this childlike innocence.
It
that-
is, because you
from
can't
Simba's point of
tell
view.
if it's fully in the kid's imagination or if it's actually happening and where that cut in the logic is.
And yeah, the song is also very catchy as well.
It's a great song. It's got some great musical beats and how they interact, and also even the ending scene. Like, it's always nice in these Disney musicals where they build up to a visual key ending. Like that ending of all the animals in the tower is like iconic.
Definitely.
Like, it's a very icon of the film where you remember how all the anteaters have their tongues out near the top and how all the elephants have their trunks.
It looks like a zoetrope.
Yeah, it pretty much looks like that, and it looks super fun. And then they do the really nice deconstruction of it, where they have the whole tower collapse,
Yeah.
and you see all the animals like squish and squash as they crush on each other.
Many dead.
Especially Zazu, but not.
Zazu gets crushed by a rhino, but is alive. What a legend!
As Zazu is crushed by that rhino, Simba and Nala escape to the elephant graveyard. And it has a very different style to the Pride Lands, which is very
Beautiful
cool.
backgrounds in this one.
Very great. Like, the mats are amazing. You hear that, Matt? You're amazing.
Who's Matt?
So what? So what did you really like about the elephant graveyard, Michael?
No, I just like that overbearing, sense of dread that you get from it. Like this film is really good at
Denoting tone through visuals.
yeah, that, and just every main scene kind of has a mood or a tone like very strictly associated with it. Yeah, and like as a contrast to the Pride Lands, when you get that that sense of pride and awe and mythic grandiosity, and this one you get kind of the opposite of that. It's a place that's quite downtrodden and derelict and forgotten.
And the sense of scale as well, because
Oh, yeah, the
Simba
elephants are so big.
and the elephant skeleton, massive compared to Simba and Nala. And yeah, you can really tell that through all the shots.
Yeah, and it goes back to that kind of theme of mythology, like aggrandizing things that are ordinarily kind of mundane.
Definitely. And then we see...
It's a chase scene between the hyenas and Simba and Nala, right?
Yeah, so the hyenas come out of the elephant skull and they joke around with the cubs for a bit and then they chase the cubs. And there's a really fun chase sequence where they go down an elephant's spine, which is, again, a massive spine, but it really works for the film.
You can exaggerate props in a way to... You can bend it in animation. That's what really works well with animation. I cannot imagine scenes like that in the live-action remake. I just can't. It would look stupid.
So the hyenas manage to corner Simba and Nala. They don't eat them for some reason. They could have easily eaten them.
They're so
many
sassy,
times.
though. They've got to,
I know.
really go into their friend, listen to our jokes before we really eat you, just so you get a last laugh, so to speak.
Don't run, I have so much more material.
I need to test this out for the hyena laugh-a-thon after this.
But then Mufasa saves the day and manages to get the hyenas to scamper off. And then Nala manages to go home by herself, I think, while
Apparently.
Mufasa has a one-on-one with his son, and how they talk about how the past kings are in the sky looking down upon them, making sure they don't stuff up like Simba just did.
There's a really, I really think in terms of animation, Ryan, there's a really nice connection, father and son connection. Even though, as we all know, Mufasa isn't in the movie that long, but his presence is felt massively for the entire thing. Like, even if he's there having conversations or later on when he's big head in the clouds, it always feels like he's a big part of how Simba develops as a character.
And that's definitely through not only the visuals, but James Earl Jones's voice.
Oh, James Earl Jones's voice is incredible.
Like, the gravitas in his voice just manages to carry that entire character. After they have the one-on-one talk, we cut to the hyenas, just joking around about Mufasa.
Trying their material out.
Yeah.
Got a lot of those. They're saying, oh, come on, Scar, give us some food.
Yeah, and Scar's there because, surprise, surprise, he's the evil mastermind behind all this. He gives them some zebra legs and was like, you know what? Next time, let's kill the king.
That's a good idea. Why don't we think of that?
And then we get into...
It's so simple.
Then we get into the song "Be Prepared," where there's a lot.
I think this is the best song in the film.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I really like it.
Do you want to talk about it then?
Just because I like it.
Do you want to talk about
It's
it?
catchy. I like the Nazi hyenas.
Yeah, Nazi hyenas are always fun.
It's great. Everyone likes a good villain song. I think this is a really catchy one.
Oh, it's definitely really good. Well performed, both
I
visually
I'm
and
sure rephrase.
vocally.
I don't think it's the best song. It's my favourite song.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does have a great energy to it, and it has like this very, like, it has very strong iconography. Like, you remember when Scar looks out and he's got like the hyena Nazi symbolism. You remember when he like walks on the ground and like the
green steam puffs
the green
out.
steam puffs out. It just
And it goes to the beat of like the choir.
Yeah, it has this really disturbing imagery. Like whenever
It's great. It's the whole thing is just so malicious.
Whenever
it's
you
amazing.
put, like, you've got the reds of Scar because he's all red. You got the reds of him with the green from the burst. It just has this really evil presence.
Actually, I
to
will
it.
say the one thing I don't like about that was they used a dark green instead of adding green highlights.
Oh, you didn't like that?
If it was done now, they would have added green highlights to his fur, but instead they just darkened it with a bit of green when the smoke billowed out.
That's a point.
That's
but
more of a digital
No,
thing.
that's just a very minor thing, though. Just
feel
like
like-
talking about animation
I feel
on this
like
podcast.
if they were to remaster it, like, again, which I reckon they should, they should do stuff like that. Like, adding just a little bit of overlay to the outlines of his character would actually make that pop more.
Definitely. For some reason, there's lava and he bursts out from a rock and no one gets hurt
Yeah.
at the ends of the
I like
song.
how he perfectly timed his musical number with this weird earthquake that just started.
But
He gets
visually...
launched up on this enormous like
Look,
spire
lions
rock.
control the weather, as we've found out.
Oh, that's
so-
true. He's angry, so there's an earthquake.
Yeah,
And he
he's like,
stands on the
"Ah."
ground. There's a big spire rock that shoots out of the earth.
And in the Lion Guard, which is the series that came out a few years ago, he's part of that lava as a ghost.
Oh no, that's stupid. That's
But
like
we're
how-
not getting into that. So obviously they're going to kill the king. So after this number, we go to Scar has led Simba down to this valley.
It's like, stay on this rock. You're gonna have a surprise. What's the surprise, Scar? Oh, I don't know. It's a
But you'll
surprise.
die.
Oh, it's
for
the
it.
die for.
He does everything but the
Gee,
evil
that
laugh.
Uncle Scar sure is swell.
Oh, and he also does the like practice your raw thing.
Oh yeah.
In terms of in terms of writing animation, just quickly, I love how they incorporate the raw. Like how his raw is completely feeble and useless at the start, and then at the end it's this grand, like, better than Scar's, better than Mufasa's raw.
So he's practicing his raw, and unbeknownst to him, as he's practicing his raw, the hyenas are just about to lead all of the wildebeest on top of the canyon into the ditch.
It's also
of the
a
canyon.
clever way to make him feel like he's responsible for the stampede.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I think that's quite a.
which is why he thinks he killed his dad.
Yeah, I like it. That's quite concise and genuinely kind of a clever plan.
Now, to make
This is the best scene in the
the
film.
wildebeest stampede, they used hand-drawn animation as reference, then overlaid that with 3D animation, which is what some people do with 3D if like they're primarily worked in 2D and switching over to 3D, or even if you're just trying to time it out. And they had to do coding and stuff to create the simulations for all the wildebeest. So they started off with just dots, trying to make some dots
Move.
collide into each other without actually colliding into each other, like run through each other without hitting each other.
Yep.
So they went from that, and then they added the actual animation to it, and then they just had to try to make them all run without colliding into anything, but make it seem very hectic at the same
And
time.
it completely achieves that. As well as they add like 2D animation mist on top of it to make it really tie together.
Exactly, and like it is very seamless in the fact that you can like. Unless if you're
can't
looking
tell.
for it, you can't tell that it's 3D integrated with 2D.
They literally just look like a C. Like you just acknowledge that. Oh, okay, this looks like
Yeah.
You don't even pay attention to it because the character animation on top is just so good.
Yeah, I like how they move like a pack, just this like kind of homogenized, mass, like a force of nature. It's great.
I know for a fact that you really love when they pour down.
That is my favorite shot in the film. Just when they pour over the edge of the canyon and they start going in. Because it always confused me as a kid because it looked too steep for them to realistically walk down.
which is true, but
because you're expecting them just to go over and then just tumble. And just like collect in a pile at the bottom.
But
visually,
visually-
visually it's incredible. It's fantastic. There's a real sense of just like threat and scale that
and fear as well.
and then you get that vertigo zoom into Simba's face when he feels that fear.
That's a great zoom, actually.
It's the Spielberg dolly zoom.
Oh, I just know
Dolly
it from
zoom
Vertigo.
/ vertigo zoom. It's called both.
Yeah. So basically, you've got a camera on like a movable dolly, and you focus on your character, and you pull the dolly back, and at the same rate, you zoom in to keep the character in the same size in frame. But pulling the dolly back, extends the focus and makes the background kind of change perspective.
It was first used in Vertigo as a way of showing the movie Vertigo.
Showing vertigo.
Yeah, as a way of showing his fear of heights.
Yeah.
We have the stampede. Simba's clinging onto a tree for his life, and Scar has gotten his dad to try to save him.
Scar does some great acting where he's like, "Oh no, Simba's down there. Quickly,
I'm
Mufasa,
totally
save
not
him.
responsible
I'm so,
for this."
so helpless. I need you. I've never relied on you, but now I do, and I care about your son, even though I've never cared about your son."
We're being very sarcastic.
That was a mouthful.
Anyway, so Mufasa actually does save his son somehow. He puts Simba on a rock, and then Mufasa climbs up to get some more help.
Really good jumping animation from Mufasa there, like where he
great.
bounces on the rock and catches Simba with his mouth.
It's really good anatomy as well.
Yeah.
Really great
And also,
anatomy.
in terms of solid drawing, I find it would be really hard to draw a lion grabbing a baby lion in its mouth and not make it look like it's eating that lion. And yet they do it really well in this, where it just looks like he's gently holding him as opposed to chowing down on him.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of animals do carry their young in their mouth, so I assume they looked at reference footage for that kind of thing.
Definitely.
And then as Mufasa clings to the rock, Scar just latches onto him and says, "Long live the king." And then lets him go.
You
and
like
flings
that
him,
one? I thought of it all day.
And then he flings him into the wildebeest stampede, which is a horrific way to go. And
That scene of Mufasa falling backwards is another one of those iconic things you just can't get out of your
actually, apparently, in the new one, it's very graphic.
head. Oh.
Not like graphic as in blood and everything, but it's more graphic than this.
Okay. Also, it
Yeah.
has that great thing where it then, right after it zooms out on
Simba's perspective.
Mufasa falling,
sorry.
it goes
Yeah,
to
it goes-
Simba with that
it pulls it.
opposite camera
Opposite-
pull.
You get
Yeah.
it? It's away from him.
Yeah, it's
he's
just so
leaving him.
good
It's
though.
great. I really like the bit afterwards when he kind of goes down to the
Yeah.
canyon to investigate, and it's just all smoky because all the dust has been kicked up.
Where
and there's the
Simba
one,
does, sorry.
Yeah, and then there's the one last wildebeest that just kind of trots down. Yeah,
It's just like
it's really effective.
the after effect of a massacre, really.
Yeah.
And it's just like looking for his dad, and then he sees his dad, and then like he thinks he's killed his dad because his dad's dead, but
That
he thinks he did
scene
it.
is
It's heartbreaking.
heart-wrenching.
And then he goes to lie with his dad to die with him.
It's just
Was that the implication? I thought it was just that he wanted comfort.
I'm gonna say my one because it's more emotionally
more
impactful.
sad.
either way. But then Scar's like, you killed him, you jerk. You're gonna have to run off now. You're exiled. And then Simba's like, oh, okay, I'll run away, and never come back. I'll forget all this, blah blah blah. And then Scar's like to the hyenas, he's gone now. Go kill him.
Anyway, so the hyenas chase after Simba, and somehow Simba doesn't hear the fact that Scar told them to go after him.
He's got very little ears. He's a little cat.
Anyway, so Simba dives through a thorn bush.
The thorns
thing.
look hilariously painful when they just look so painful.
Well, they are painful.
I know, but they look painful.
No, yeah,
like-
again, they're animated in a way that really infers tactility. I remember when we did the first podcast and we talked about this for the first time. We were talking about tactility in animation and how this is like really exemplifies that, and how you can get like real kind of textural feelings from animation, which is really hard to do. But like this does it, it's all the time. Like it makes it look effortless.
And then, the hyenas, they don't want to go through the thorn bush, so they go, oh yeah, he's dead anyway. He
Probably
can't survive
dead.
out
He's
in
in
this
the desert. There's no water there.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
He looks like he's walking towards the second act.
Oh no! Someone stop
we
him.
talk about this movie has very clear act breaks.
I think it
Oh,
works so
very.
well, the fact that it is like a theatrical play.
Yeah. This is There are points when like the curtain would go up for a little bit.
So before the start of the second act, we have Scar going to the rest of the pride. Look, Mufasa is dead, and so does it say Simba is dead?
I think he does say Simba's dead.
Then the hyenas telling, yeah.
Yeah, and then Simba's dead, and that it's such a great shame. But now he's the king.
We'll
and then there's-
protect you now with my totally not threatening army of hyenas.
and all the clouds and stuff as well.
I brought the finest clouds from my deaf colony over there.
Yeah.
And my finest.
He was
death
such a bad
hyenas.
king that he caused the drought somehow.
Totally not a coincidence at all.
I know it's symbolic, but still.
And then we cut to Simba lying on the ground, almost dead. And who comes to his rescue but Timon and Pumbaa?
I love their voices in this.
Oh, so it's Nathan Lane and I forgot who-
Another guy that didn't do much else, I don't think.
Who's Nathan Lane? Is Nathan Lane the guy who plays
Timon.
Timon?
Yeah, everybody knows who Nathan
Yeah.
Lane is.
I don't know his name.
You like the
actually.
movie Mousetrap?
I love Mousetrap.
Yeah, everybody likes Mousetrap. I don't think anybody's talked about Mousetrap in 20 years.
Mouse Hunted, I think.
Mouse
it's called.
Hunt. No.
I thought it was Mouse Hunt.
No, yeah, sorry, Mouse. Yeah, sorry, it is Mouse Hunt. Mousetrap is the board game.
Yeah, Mousetrap's a board game.
Yeah, everybody likes Mouse Hunt. Also, I had in my notes here that Timon and Pumbaa kind of fill the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern roles.
from Hamlet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because,
definitely.
because they're two characters from Hamlet that, people further down the line, kind of the 18th and 19th century, did kind of either like homage or reinterpretations or like farcical reinterpretations of Shakespeare's work. There were some spin-offs written about specifically those two characters in Hamlet, who are two messenger characters in Hamlet. But the stories that were later written about them follow those two, and you see kind of Hamlet through their perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And they're two kind of they grew into two kind of vaguely comedic characters, in which kind of saw, the grandiosity, the huge, Shakespearean tragedies, but you see it from their kind of very simple-minded perspective.
That pretty much summarizes Timon and Pumbaa quite well.
Yeah, and even especially like in Lion King, whatever it was, 3.9, what was it called?
1.5/3.
Yeah. And remember watching like bits of that, and yeah, it is very much that. You see the big, grand scale Shakespearean tragedy that is the Lion King, but you see it from a farcical perspective of these two like peripheral characters.
Okay, so Timon and Pumbaa save Simba from a bunch of Adrian Toons. Vultures.
Oh.
He's taken in by Timon and Pumbaa. They go to paradise, this oasis in the middle of nowhere that looks like the best thing in the film.
Why doesn't everybody live there?
That's the
I know,
nicest
right?
place.
Oh, because it's just grubs. There's no other animals.
Yeah, but if all the other animals moved there, they could eat them.
Oh, so true.
Anyway, they realize that Simba is looking a bit down on his luck, and they want to cheer him up by saying, look, just don't focus on the past, and Hakuna Matata. And then they have a song called Hakuna Matata, which is a lot of people's favorite songs.
It's so fun. It's just a ball of fun, innocent energy. It's great, but the message of the song is terrible.
Yeah,
It's
basically
run,
saying,
run away from you. Yeah,
Run
whatever.
away from everything. Do what Scar said. Who cares?
Basically,
leave
just
him.
obla-dee, obla-da.
But it's great. It's got wonderful visuals. Timon and Pumbaa are a riot throughout the entire thing. It's got
And they
that
even have that bloody flashback song sequence about Pumbaa and how he was exiled.
Because
Yeah.
he farts too much. Brilliant.
Yeah. It's done in such a way where it's really enjoyable.
Why did you get exiled? I farted too much. What did you do? Killed my dad.
Hakuna
Oh.
Matata.
But it also has that iconic where they're on the logs, on the log
yeah.
walking, and then
And the
Simba
aging.
ages.
Oh, so good. And
Which is a shot that doesn't carry the same gravitas in the remake.
Because in
No,
the
really.
remake,
They just
as
move-
Michael's pointed out, they just walk like normal animals instead of with character.
Yeah, like in this one, they're like doing like this proud little waltz thing, and
Not waltz, a strut.
And yeah, and Pumbaa's like moving his head up and around, and Simba's waving his glorious mullet. Whereas in the other one, it's just like, hey, they're walking across the log. That's what animals do.
So now that we're up to it, you want to talk about his hair?
Simba's stupid
mane.
90s middle part hair. Was this just an animation thing? Was it just a staple back then? Did Aladdin have that hair?
No, Aladdin had
I think it was
short
just
hair.
because it was...
It was just one of those things. It's like youth fashion at the time, and they need to show that he's an adult, but he's still a young adult.
Yes.
And the easiest way that you can visually, reflect that is through, a modern
Hairstyle.
I
hairstyle.
didn't mind it. I thought it looked good.
I really like the
I think it
hairstyle.
dates it too specifically. I think everything else about the film is, again, mythic and, it's not tied down to, a specific, point in time. There's a word for it. It's like...
But I think it
I'll
sets
find
him
the word.
apart enough from his dad, like character design wise.
Yeah, because if he's older, you don't want him to look like Mufasa.
I think the word is atemporal. I would describe the Lion King.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
the Lion
so-
King is atemporal, except for his stupid 1994 haircut.
So after we have Hakuna Matata, we have, and it's been like a few years, I'm guessing. We cut to the Pride Lands and how terrible it is with the drought, and how Scar has just run this place into the ground because he can control the weather.
Yeah. Not much to really say other than I like how it's a nice contrast, and it's very clear to the audience that this is a terrible place to live now than what it was. At
It
the start
literally
of the
looks
film.
like the place where the hyenas used to be.
Yeah. So now not even the hyenas are happy. They're not even cracking jokes anymore.
They're still sad.
Everything's sad there. It's not a fun place.
And then we cut back to the jungle where Timon and Pumbaa are singing "In the Jungle."
Yeah, that's really nice. It's just a cute little song they sing, and they sing a full version of it in the Timon and Pumbaa show, I remember. So Nala then tries to kill Pumbaa.
Because that's what lions do.
They kill animals, but it's all right because they become the grass. And Pumbaa, he's like friends would eat the grass, so it's fair.
Yeah.
This is so stupid. It doesn't make sense. Like, what? Who's to denote that they turn into the grass that they're gonna eat?
Look, it's a circle of life, Stephen.
Yep.
But what about Circle of Life?
Circle of life.
So Simba comes to rescue Timon and Pumbaa from Nala, but then they're like, "Oh wait, I know you. Oh, and I know you. You used to be my friend." And then they have Gooey Eyes fall in love and implies that they're gonna bone.
And then Elton John sings about how they do that.
Pretty much.
He channels his inner Randy Newman and just sings exactly what's happening on screen.
And that's the one that won the Oscar for Best Original
But it's a
Song.
good song.
It's a great song.
It is great. Especially with Timon and Pumbaa doing the
I love Timon
end
and
and
Pumbaa's
start and the
versions.
end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They do the bumpers.
yeah,
It's so
the,
great.
The little sad like epilogue to the song. Yeah,
And if he falls in love tonight, there will be something. And then he says, "We're doomed."
yeah.
Our friend is doomed.
And then, as Nala tries to convince Simba to go back to save everyone from Scar, he was like, "No, I don't want
I
to.
can't go back.
Because I killed my father, but I'm not meant to tell you."
He didn't. He
No,
never
he
said it.
doesn't.
No.
Which is why I said that.
Then he goes for a walk, doesn't he?
Yeah, then he just runs away from his problems because
When
of
does
Kuna
Rafiki-
Matata, and that's where Rafiki comes in.
Yeah,
Because-
he as Michael says, Rafiki hears the wind or something and realizes, Simba's alive.
Which is actually, where does Rafiki
He
live?
just
Because
sniffs it like, regret, guilt, thoughts, Simba's alive.
where does Rafiki live? Because if he's in the Pride Lands, where he lives is still lush and full of life.
I think he's further away. He's near the.
Is he
that
in
jungle
between the
area.
jungle?
Well, he's a
and...
mystic shaman guy. Maybe he just has the single rain cloud directly above his tree.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess. Anyway,
On that scene
Rafiki...
though, that
okay.
scene where you cuts open the fruit and
Oh, yeah.
shades the red. That seems so warm and just that gives me
Ah.
goosebumps every time I see it because it just feels so happy and joyful.
How
like,
do they do that? Because it looks like he's adding to a background mat.
maybe that's what they
literally-
do.
They
Oh.
literally just do that.
So do they? Is it several different background mats?
It's
they
it's
switch
like
out.
it's like a secondary background map that they just add on top that's clear, but they just add that bit of paint.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it looks really nice. So, yeah, like you said, there's like a warmth to it.
Anyway, so Rafiki, he goes to Simba. What are you doing? Follow me. You need to speak to someone.
Yeah, he says something like, "Oh, I know I know where the king is, or
Yeah.
I know where I know where Mufasa is," and he basically leads him to this pool where he
And
just looks at himself.
let's talk about that. Where Simba is crawling through that thicket of thorns, and how multi-plane camera that bit is.
Oh, okay.
It is just like bits of thorns just going in and out of the camera as he weaves through it, and it's
Oh, yeah.
very. I'm glad that they have improved some aspects of animation because that part is probably the most floaty bit of animation.
Look, it goes so
Still
fast.
looks good, I think.
It's good, but I'm glad they've improved.
It's not,
since
it's
then.
not
Yeah.
a lingering shot either. I think you can get
No.
away with it.
And then it leads to him talking to Cloud Mufasa.
Yeah, because he sees his reflection as Mufasa, and then Mufasa goes from the lake to the clouds.
And he's like, he's with light behind him, goes, "You have forgotten who you are, Simba.
Pretty sweet up here. Don't worry about me.
I'm going great. I control all the weather from up here."
But so does Scar, though. So.
Everybody's up here like John Lennon and Stalin and...
In lion form?
yeah. Lion.
Okay, but
John-
seriously, this scene is great because it just has a lot of emotion to it. You can really get the sense of Simba's, like, how torn he is.
Hopelessness, yeah. He feels like he can't go back and yet he has to.
And he just doesn't want to, but because his father's there right there, he feels like he needs to not avenge his father, but do it for his father.
Yeah, it's all just about like not running away from your problems and going back to
Yeah.
face them, basically.
Yeah, Kuna Matata, whatever. And then, without telling anyone, he just runs off.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah.
He doesn't tell.
Oh, there's the music.
No,
Gotta go.
he doesn't tell Timon and Pumbaa.
Nice run sequence, though.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
amazing.
also great. We talked about that earlier, though.
And then Rafiki, because Simba didn't tell his friends, Rafiki had to go find his friends and tell them that he went back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the third act now, guys. He's left you behind. It's the Return of the King now. You better get on over there.
Lord of the Rings.
They grow up
now.
so fast. We found him at the start of an act break, and he left us at the end of one.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you know what? In terms of
poetic.
writing, they really did that second act well because you really feel a connection to Timon and Pumbaa and the connection they have to Simba in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, one
The
act.
second act was also a great way to really give a bit of break because that first act is just full on.
Yes, this one's a lot more, not inconsequential, but it's a bit more light and digestible.
With an end that transitions well and wholeheartedly into the third climax.
Yeah. Remember, it's not a long film. Each of these acts is only 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's well broken up, though. Divided well.
And then when we see that the characters arrive in the Pride Lands, we see these nice, colourful characters against this big, desolate, grey smudge that is now the Pride Lands, which I think is really effective.
Yeah, it's like a little moment. It's what the hell happened here?
And then they have to try to think of a way to distract the hyenas to get into Pride Rock, and then
What do you expect me to do? Dress in drag and do the hula?
That's great.
then they do a hard cut to Timon in drag and doing the hula.
And
He has a whole song prepared.
It's like it was. That's a plan they do often.
Yeah.
Like, this was probably a scripted joke, but it is one of the best jokes in this film.
Yeah.
Just because of how unexpected it is. And it's
I love how they somehow make the color palette warm around where they are.
Yeah.
Like everything else is still that dark and drab of the Pride Lands that it now is, but their little hula scene is all bright, colorful, and happy.
Yeah, and I always like the running joke where comic relief characters always have some kind of conception of the outside world. Like, Timon knows what, like, a luau is.
Yeah.
Like, what Hawaii is.
And then, so they distract the hyenas, and then...
Simba meets his mum for the first time. I thought that was really...
So Scar's being a bit abusive to the lionesses because they won't hunt because there's literally nothing around. So Scar...
And they keep mentioning Mufasa. He's like, nah, stop mentioning that guy.
I'm 10 times King Mufasa was. And then Simba shows up looking like Mufasa in the dramatic wind. And then everyone thinks, it's Mufasa's
Such
back.
like an easy rebuttal is, like, 10 times a king. Like, look around! Look how bad everything is! How did this even happen?
Again, he can control the weather.
It will take a monumental amount of effort to fuck things up this badly.
Anyway, so Simba, everyone thinks he's father, but then he goes, no, I'm Simba. And then they go, oh, you're alive! And then Scar, thinking he can still be deceptive, goes, but didn't you tell them what you did? He killed Mufasa.
And then 5 seconds later, he's just like, oh no, I killed Mufasa.
Literally, like a minute later, everyone else finds out that Scar actually killed Mufasa. Which, it's a bit of a quick turnaround, but I don't mind.
This is the part of the film that I've heard complaints about, regarding it kind of nullifies the moral. Where...
What's the moral?
Well, the moral of the thing, like the whole moral or like the core kind of conceit of the film is that you should, face your problems. You shouldn't run away from them.
Responsibility.
Yeah, it's about responsibility. And he is responsible. He goes back to face his problems. But once they're told that, like, he was responsible for his father's death, everyone kind of turns against him. And it's not only until that you find out that he wasn't responsible and it wasn't an issue to begin with that it begins to turn around and people support him again.
Look, I see it more as it's, in terms of that moral, that's more directed towards Simba rather than the peripheral characters, because Simba never actually says that he didn't kill Mufasa. He still accepts responsibility that I did have a part to play, and that was my part.
But it doesn't work out for him, if that makes sense. It doesn't work out. It doesn't work out until he's absolved.
I guess, but to be fair, it's a very minor thing to know. I think the moral still remains intact.
They need it for a narrative beat. I understand it. There needs to be like a little bit of tension before the final showdown. But yeah, I think it does kind of negates elements of, the core morality of the film.
I think it's strong in that it shows that if Simba were to have everyone against him if he was younger and them say he was a killer, he would have run off again. But this Simba takes all that and just goes, okay, I know I am responsible for a part, but now you've got to say what you did. And he says it in 5 seconds later, so good.
And all you have to do is strangle him a bit.
Once Scar confesses, there's a big battle. There happens to be rain and lightning and fire around
That's
everywhere.
great, lovely. I like the bit when they're slapping each other in slow motion. It looks really good. And like the embers.
Actually, I want to talk. We'll talk about that a bit later. But first, we have Rafiki coming in and doing some kung fu,
which is
nice.
which is a confusing cultural thing because I
Yes,
thought he
it
was meant to
is.
be like an African mystic, but
it's pretty fun. And then you have Timon and Pumbaa trying to rescue Zazu. And
What reference do they do there? They do like...
Wait,
Did
they
you just call him a pig?
I'm
it's,
Mr. Pig.
it's Mr. Tibbs. They call me Mr. Tibbs.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is either.
Then we have the final confrontation between Simba and Scar.
Yes.
There's some slow motion.
Slow motion slapathon.
Because I watched it last night, so basically instead they animated it as it would look normally, but then they slow motioned it by doing it.
But
They did motion blur between the
yeah,
frames.
yeah. There's like
So
an
it still
adaptive kind of
looks-
frame transition kind of thing.
So it still looks a bit smooth as well.
Yeah. I like it. I like the look.
Yeah.
I like the look it gives off.
It's like a kind of like a grandiose type of fight
Yeah,
amongst
yeah.
all the flames.
Gives a
like
bit
like
of
like, like the
echo.
keyframes are very clear, but like the linking frames are very
Yeah, there's
smeared
some
and-
transition. It's like there's an echo of the last frame. in
yeah.
it.
There's a dissolve.
Also, it has the famous Scar bear hug jump. That's always fun.
and
Where it
which
goes,
was actually and that actually was animated in slow motion compared to the rest of the film.
Oh, you can tell because there's
His
so much.
hair waves.
Yeah, and there's so much detail into every frame of that
the
jump.
shot of him jumping is just exactly the shot like how Wolverine is introduced in his very first appearance. Keep talking. I'll show you the picture.
And then the hyenas, as Scar's trying to manipulate Simba into keeping him in the pride, he says, "Oh, the hyenas did it." But little does Scar know, the hyenas were listening. So as Simba exiles Scar, Scar is cornered by the hyenas and gets eaten by them amongst the flames. So
And
that's-
you only see it through silhouette, which is Disney's way of saying, we can't show depth, so here's a silhouette showing it in
can't
graphic detail.
But no, it's a very effective death, and it's very cathartic for
and
everyone.
and the hyenas are just like, yay, hunger solved. We have one lion to eat amongst 45,000 of us.
But we've now learnt we're fireproof, apparently, so that may come in handy.
Is it inferred that the hyenas all die there as well?
I don't think it's
No,
inferred.
I think they just leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
They go to test out their comedy career somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe there's
Ah.
a post-credit scene when they're all just like eating grubs in the oasis.
With Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah.
And they just make bug jokes all the time.
Oh, yeah. that'd be
Quit
great.
bugging me.
Ah!
Want some grub?
Ah! And that's all they do.
Other bug puns?
I hate this so much, it's indescribable.
Anyway, so after the fight, Simba climbs up to the top of Pride.
I love
Rock.
this thing. He climbs up, he looks at the stars, which reflects to what Mufasa said about the
past
forefathers
kings.
looking down on
Rain
you.
bidding down, looks at the sky and goes, yeah.
He does a large, majestic roar,
The
finally
first
paying
time
that
he
off.
roars in the film correctly.
Yeah.
Like any other time he was scared to do so.
I mean,
or
there's
he did
one
it as
point
a
when
kid.
he's young, when he thinks he causes the
But it's
stampede. That's kind of it's still a little bit timid and shaky. But
Yeah.
this is the first like adult,
First MGM roar.
Yeah, it's the MGM roar. Like you could slap a little circle wipe around him and call him the MGM lion.
Anyway, then it cuts to a few months later. I assume it's a few months later.
The weather's been returned back to normal.
The circle of
Yeah,
life.
yeah. He roared so loud that even the rain just pissed itself.
Anyway, so the circle of life literally continues on here, where everything is returned and the song comes back.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice way
Cyclical
of
storytelling with the
cyclical storytelling.
circle of
It's
life.
great.
Yeah, and it's good because then it's also bookended with the title as well.
Yeah.
Like that story starts
But
again.
and we see that Simba's had a kid.
Yeah.
Again, circle of life.
Yeah,
coming
that's
through.
what I mean. As soon as he holds the kid up to the sun, it's
Yeah.
when the title comes back. It's
And
like, yeah,
then-
it starts again.
And then there's the Lion King 2.
To Simba's pride.
Two Simbas.
Which, honestly, I really loved as a kid. I haven't watched it since I was a kid.
I've
though.
watched it. It holds up.
I only remember the one love song when...
Upendi.
Yeah,
Oh,
whatever
that was
that
the
is.
worst thing in existence. Let's
But
not
has
talk about that.
the Exile song, which is
the Exile.
amazing.
You are not one of us. That is awesome.
I don't remember any other thing besides... Like, I literally only remember the visual when, like, the hippopotamuses are on a little swing and they're like that little metallic cradle.
Again, why do
You
you
know that?
remember Upendi out of every?
I love
It's
that
the
song
only-
as a kid.
They're in that little like River Rapids Disneyland
Yeah.
ride thing when they're going down there.
And-
That's the only thing I remember from that film.
That's the only stylized song as well, where it tries to be a bit more creative, but not as creative as Can't Wait
Yeah.
to Be King.
Was that well received? The Lion King 2,
was
Simba's
a-
Pride.
It was a
Not according to
direct-to-video.
IMDb.
It was a direct to video, so not many.
Yeah, I have the
people
video
saw it.
somewhere.
Yeah, final thoughts on The Lion King.
Yeah, we said at the start.
Yeah, it's just amazing and
Yeah.
great and grand. And if you haven't watched it, why haven't you? It's one of the best movies of the 90s.
My only thing with it is that they made a live action.
It's your only problem with the
That's
film.
my problem with this film. That a live action of it exists.
And one of
Maybe
the,
it'll be fine.
and the reviews for it, no, the reviews for it so far is like, it's great because the original Lion King is great.
Yeah, what's the point?
And
I
Yeah,
cannot.
you can't make a bad film if you just basically shot for shot remake a good film.
it's like, I read some reviews as well, some Twitter reviews, where it's just like, oh, it's so good, it makes me want to watch the original. Why not just watch the original and save yourself some money?
I love the review that literally said, at times it comes almost as good as the original. It's like, that's, what? Is that even good?
Yeah, is that a compliment? what
And it's like,
does that mean? Just sometimes it's almost adequate?
that Milan live action trailer came out, and
That's something that I understand a live action remake.
and
I think
also
that could be kind of interesting.
it looks different as well because there's not going to be the songs, and it's more based on
And
the
even-
actual tale
Even
as
with
well.
the shots they've shown in the trailer, they've done different
Yeah,
things. Like there's
it's
a whole
different,
war in
which
it.
is
Is Eddie
good.
Murphy coming back to voice the dragon?
No, I told you,
But
Will
there's-
Smith
there
is
is
being
no,
blue
there
for
is-
it.
No, there is no dragon in this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
it
it's a
differentiates
different
itself.
take on the source material.
Exactly. Whereas the new Lion King, it's just the same.
Da, 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 da.
Da, 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 da.
Well,
You
then
said
you
that
get-
the exact same. Anyway, well, that's great.
That
we
was
all love The
Lion
Lion King.
Well,
But now let's get into
Our next
animation.
segment, Jeremy
news.
Irons is the best thing in the world.
So,
maybe.
Michael, what do you think of Jeremy Irons?
He's the best actor in the world. So what's some animation news, Ben? Because I have some, actually.
Okay, so animation news. First of all, this morning I heard some animation news. The Flintstones is getting a new animated series.
Is this one that Seth MacFarlane is producing?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just heard it on the news as I was exiting the house.
Because I remember a while ago Seth MacFarlane wanted to reboot a modernized version of the Flintstones.
Okay, well, all I heard was that it's going to be an adult comedy. An
I
adult
hope
cartoon
they
series.
do
What?
it like Michael's.
I didn't write the book, Stefan.
No. You know, Michael's read some of the comic series that was
Okay.
produced.
There was a 12
recently.
issue limited series about the Flintstones, which I think is everything I feel like the Flintstones should be, or at least has the capacity to be. Because you go back and watch the original, 1960s animation, and it's very much, well, I think it's incredibly, like, it should be respected for really, popularizing the primetime animated,
Sitcom.
half-hour sitcom. There's not much to it. Like, you go and watch it, and it's incredibly cheap, and there's a lot of,
Hanna-Barbera animation.
yeah, so it's a classic Hanna-Barbera thing when, like, there's a laugh track, but it rarely coincides with any jokes.
And it has that terrible... What was that joke you said at the beginning of recording all these podcasts?
I'm not even... Is it worth repeating?
No, don't repeat
It's the
it
Mona
again.
Lisa joke, and it's the worst joke in the history of the animation medium.
I'm sure I can...
When they look at all I have to say is that they look at the Mona Lisa in the Flintstones and say, that'll be never worth nothing, let's go. It's the worst joke in the history of animation. Yeah, I think they have the opportunity to really, make something that's kind of, culturally satirical, because that's exactly what those DC published comic books are. They take the
Okay.
Flintstones and it's like a farcical reflection of, modern life and consumerism and religion.
Is it going to star John Goodman?
Hope so. It's decent. He's actually a decent Fred Flintstone.
He is.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, is it an animated series? Obviously.
Yeah,
Okay,
animated
yeah.
series. There's going to be a Netflix Cuphead
That's
animated
what I was
show,
going to mention.
which is why Stefan actually played the Cuphead series.
So fun.
Sure,
That's
I'm
going to be
game.
great. Can't wait.
Yeah, so they're not hiring the actual game studio to do the animation. They're using the in-house Netflix animation studio.
Ooh.
However, they are still working with the Cuphead people.
Is it going to be hand animated or?
Oh yeah, 2D, but yeah, 2D hand
I
animated.
really hope they don't.
I wonder if they can. I wonder if they're actually going to add that artificial
grain.
kind of grain texture to it.
I
I wonder
so.
if they'll do that.
I don't want it to be
if
clean.
they're going to do a Cuphead series, they should definitely stick to the 1930s style.
Yeah, and I hope they don't shy away from those kind of surreal adult elements. There's like overt references to like alcohol and smoking and things like that. And I think that's very much in line with the tone of those older cartoons, and I hope
Yeah.
that they keep that stuff in there.
Like literally, the reason why they're in the mess, like Cuphead and his brother in the mess, is because they're gambling.
Yeah, they deal
That's
with,
the story.
to deal with
Yeah.
the devil, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they keep that kind of stuff, that weird kind of adult darkness that really exemplified those older, MGM.
Oh, so
and
everything that was
Warner
in
Brothers cartoons.
that island in Pinocchio, just that island, but as a Cuphead series.
No, that's much worse. I don't think anything. We should do Pinocchio one day because it's just sad. It's just
It
a miserable
is.
experience.
One more bit of animation news: they are doing an Akira series.
Oh, they did a
Animated
film. Were they doing a
series.
film?
Yes, but
Wait,
they're also
what?
doing an Akira animated series
Why?
because money.
It's about Tetsuo trying.
So it's more based on the manga rather than the film.
Oh, I wanted a sequel series that
But
just makes.
why?
That
because money.
I wanted a sequel series that just shows Tetsuo trying and failing miserably to like create new life in his new universe.
That would be.
Whoops.
That
Okay,
would take
let
ages.
me read this article and then explain it to you.
What, are they going to animate it the same way the original was animated? Because that would be like a nightmare.
So it's going to be a sequel anime series.
Oh, it is.
So Japanese animation studio Sunrise will be working along Otomo.
Yeah, it's not going to work. No. Sunrise can do some good stuff, but recently they've been a bit more cheap with their animations. I don't know as much as their films, but they've really been trying to get... It's more about quantity rather than quality in terms of things. And as we all know, Akira was nothing but quality. Like, that was just quality to the max.
And that's all the animation news. So one disappointing thing, one good thing, and one, I didn't know that.
Just like the three of us.
Hooray!
Gee, I hope
Well,
I'm
you
the...
decide which one's which.
Aww. So, Michael, what are we doing next week?
Oh, this is something that, at least me and Stefan, I'm sure you've heard of this, Ben, that we were all meant to watch, but I never got around to actually seeing, which is the 2017 animated biographical drama film Loving Vincent.
Oh, I did want to watch this. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
It's a very kind of experimental animation chronicling a small portion of the life of Vincent van Gogh, where every single frame is a brand new oil painting by a different, homage, artist, someone who can very easily replicate the Van Gogh
So
style.
it's like, if you ever watch it, it's like that Richard Linklater film, but
that
about Vincent
Waking
van Gogh.
Life, that was called, where the entire thing was digitally rotoscoped.
But all weird type of, but this is done with oil painting.
I think that'd be like a really fun one
really
to watch.
excited for
And
that.
it's
That'll be awesome.
It's something where we can just gush kind of over the animation style.
There's only one problem. How in the heck are we going to be able to watch this?
I'd love to buy that. I'm going to buy a DVD.
Do they have a DVD?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's
We can go to JB Hi-Fi.
I can get it $9.95 and hope if it comes with a booklet just filled just filled with pre-written notes that we can read out in the podcast.
I hope so.
Okay, so that is the end of the podcast. If you'd like to contact us, you can comment on our YouTube videos. You can rate us on iTunes or whatever and leave a comment there. Or you can send an email to us at animate3pod@gmail.com.
Have we actually got any emails?
No, we have not. I don't think anyone will for a while, but why not plug it?
I know. I saw we had 2 subscribers on the podcast for iOS.
Hooray!
And I know that one of them is me, and another one is my partner. So
So we have no subscribers. Amazing. I did see on iTunes that we have 4 5-star reviews.
Ooh, and only one of them is me.
So give us more 5-star reviews, please. They bump us
Regardless
up.
what you think, 5-star reviews.
Yep, leave a 5-star review, but just leave a shitty
And then just
comment.
email us what you actually think, and we'll read it out in the podcast.
That'd be amazing. And you can find us basically anywhere you can listen to podcasts, including YouTube, Overcast, Spotify.
Against all their better judgment, we were accepted into an uncanny amount of, hosting services.
Hooray for us. And that is all.
But sad for everybody who likes podcasts.
And that is all for this circle of podcasting. That didn't make sense. Goodbye.
Da, 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 da,
Dun,
da.
dun, dun. We've done that like 3 times this podcast. The end.